G'day, it's Peter Bender from Bundaberg Commercial, and I help people buy and sell commercial properties and businesses. Today we're going to have a little bit of a think and a look in regards to trucks and transport. There's a huge industry associated with that, and not only businesses who are purely on transport and trucks, getting stuff from point A to point B, but a lot of businesses have actually got trucks as key assets. So if you've got delivery services, that sort of type business related, then quite often you may have a big boy or a big girl's toy in regards to trucks. We're going to look at three things in particular that both buyers and sellers need to have some consideration about and have a plan in mind when they go shopping or selling their transport related assets and businesses. All right, so the first thing we want to have a look at is one of the scary trends that I've had over the last 6 months or so is how many trucks have actually rolled over. Now, I'm sorry, I'm pretty ignorant. I don't do a lot of work in transport, and I don't often see trucks sort of damaged or rolled over. But I have to admit, one of my favourite shows, I cuddle up on the couch with my wife and we watch those towing shows. So in those dangerous places, you understand that trucks roll over. They slide in the ice and the snow and go into the ditches, crash into each other, fishtail, jackknife, all those sort of type things. That's my fix of reality TV. But what surprised me in probably the last 6 months is how many clients I've had who have trucks that have rolled over. And I'm talking everything from B doubles, as in the trucks that have got the prime mover at the front and then have two trailers on them, through to cement mixers. Cement mixers are notoriously difficult because the amount of weight that they have in the agitator. If you take a corner wrong or you get cut off and you try to brake, it's just not going to work. Things that you have to look at in regards to rollovers is some of these truck drivers have long shifts and they're doing long distances. And I do a lot of, like the other day I did a lot of traveling, did 5 hours out west. To me that's a big trip, but these guys and girls do it all day every day. It's very hard to stay focused all the time. So when you're buying a business and you've got truck drivers involved, have a really good look at the quality of what they're like. Have a look at the machinery, make sure it's maintained well. These sort of type aspects that increase the risk of rollovers. In regards to where are the actual transports, I've had clients who are loggers. They carry logs from places, and they can only do first gear out of some of these places because it's just mud road, and takes a long time, hours, to get out of the logging plantation. All those aspects have incredible pressure on your transport. So the type of transport you're doing, the hours, the distances, the roads, all that factors into an aspect of the risk associated with buying or selling your transport business. With regards to, like I said, it's an increasing trend. I mean, hopefully it's just a blip. But when you've got, like they say, you never know how good your insurance is until you need it. One of my clients had lost not one but two trucks had rolled over during the Christmas period, a very busy period for them. And unfortunately, they were underinsured. They actually owed more on the trucks than what the insurance paid out. It caused them a whole heap of pain. So that's another aspect you need to have a look at. Make sure you've got plenty of insurance to work with. But it's not all doom and gloom in regards to looking at what you can do in buying your businesses and assets that have got there. So one of the things that a lot of businesses get caught out with, if they've got a lot of capital equipment, now that can be CNC machines, it can be lasers, it can be manufacturing equipment, it can be robotics. It's the same with transports. You've got to have a look at the actual assets, look at the age of the equipment, especially when you get to the stage people say, oh yeah, that'll be fine. And then when it comes to sale time, they think, oh, that truck's worth $250,000 or $25,000. When a new buyer comes in and says, well, that's a 20-year-old truck with 500,000 kilometers on it, and I wouldn't pay anything more than 10 grand for it. We always like to think our gear and our businesses are better than what they actually are to an independent observer. If you wanted to go and find a real price for what your trucks are worth, Go online, have a look at what's been sold, see what's at the auction sites. You may be surprised. Now, you may be actually pleasantly surprised too, because I remember in COVID, one of my clients had some old trucks. I'm talking 15, 20 years old. And to me, that seems like an old vehicle, but had plenty of mileage left on it. He took it to the auctions and got like 3 times what would normally be, because it was a matter of supply and demand. And during COVID, they could not get new trucks into Australia. So any old truck, it was almost like putting a zero on the price tag. It's just, instead of being a 50 grand truck, it was only $500,000 because they just couldn't get trucks. So it pays to have an understanding of what the value of the vehicle is. And you also, like I said, make sure you got it covered to pay for any finance that you may have on it. Another thing to look at is if you were going to start a transport business from scratch, so looking at buying or selling your particular transport business, what setup of trucks would you have? Quite often it's important to understand that your clients have changed. The trucks that you bought 10, 15 years ago may have been suitable for the work that you had then, but businesses grow, they develop, they get new markets, new territories. If you were to start that business today, would you still have those trucks? If not, then have a serious think about getting rid of them and buying some new ones. Buying new ones, like, this is big bucks, and this is probably the second point that I have a look at. In regards to big assets like machinery and equipment, and trucks is in that category, you need to constantly update. You need to make sure that you're getting benefits out of efficiency. So what do I mean by efficiency? Well, it wasn't that long ago that we didn't have B doubles. We had 24 wheelers. You had the prime mover at the front and one trailer at the back. Now, there are still those sort of trucks around, particularly some of the older ones, but people realise that we can increase the efficiency by going with B doubles. Yeah, the trucks cost more, but you could carry 60% more freight, and that is where the money is. And I had a business, and they have about $300,000 worth of manufacturing equipment. And I took a buyer through there the other day. And I said, I'm talking to the owner. I said, how old's that equipment? I said, it's 25 years old. And it works great. Every day he gets 8 hours work out of it. Doesn't miss a beat. And I said, well, what happens in regards to getting parts? The manufacturers are still around, but they don't make that actual machine anymore. And the buyer was sitting thinking, this could be a risk. What happens if it collapses? Am I better off replacing it? And he spoke about, what sort of options are now available, and the industry had changed. They no longer make that machine because they, instead of having one machine that did everything, they've now gone backwards. Backwards may be the wrong term, but they've gone full circle, and they've gone back to creating 4 components for that machine individually. So if one component died, you didn't lose the whole machine, you basically just replaced that component. And that's pretty common, and that is one of the changes that is quite often in there, and that's an efficiency for operations. You can have a look at, in regards to trucks, which I spoke about B doubles. One of the other efficiencies, look, I'm not a truck person, but I've learned a lot in the last 6 months. As I just had a rash of people with trucks, and I had to try and work out one end from the other. They have trucks that load from the side, and they are really good at the wharf. But these... and this customer, he actually got rid of one of his older trucks and got a new one, which was a side loader, particularly so that he can now pick up more work and more contracts at the wharf. And also, the time at the wharf was almost halved. And in transport and trucking, time really is money. Every hour you're sitting on a dock, you're not making any money. So if you can load and unload your vehicle in 2 hours instead of 4 hours, well, suddenly, once a day you're picking up an extra load. That's very much in those efficiencies. So that's probably the 2 things in particular, or maybe 3 things in particular. So you've got the aspect of, in regards to trucks, if you're looking at rollovers, so make sure you've got plenty of insurance, you've got good trucks, that you've got good maintenance, that you've got good drivers. Have a look at the age of the equipment, particularly, once again, looking at trucks. Is it something that you would have bought today if you were starting that business? And then on the third aspect, constantly look at updating to improve your efficiency. Australia is shocking the last 10 years in improving efficiency of businesses, but it's beautiful. If you can increase the efficiency of business, it's not an expense. It's almost tax-free. If you can get 3 loads a day instead of 2 loads a day, then it's just awesome. Get into it. So look, that's just a quick journey on the transport industry and some of the trends I see in there, and also using that across businesses that have big machinery or factory plants. Leave me a comment if this is sort of industry breakup that suits you and helps you. And I'll catch you around. Take care and God bless.